Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Rendezvous with Anza Saqib on CxO Global TV. CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across the globe. We take massive pride in contributing to the knowledge economy with a league of key thought leaders, industry professionals, domain experts, and those who have made a considerable amount of difference in the field that they're working in. Today as well, we've got one of our esteemed members, Mr. Ghulam Sadiqain Khoja, joining us, and uh, the he is the GMIT at Yunus Textile Mill. So, without further ado, let's welcome him. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the welcome.
It's been an honor and a privilege to have you here. Mr. Khoja, please tell us a little about, how does one reach the position of GMIT at a big textile mill? Where did your journey start? Where did you go to school? What courses did you study?
All right. So thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I started way back in 1993. I did my computer engineering from Pakistan. And after that, I started with Habib Group. Noble Computers was the company. It was actually a software house. They used to provide ERP consultancy services. Worked there for a year, started as a programmer, systems coordinator. After that, I got the opportunity to work for IBM Pakistan from 1995 to 96. I was assistant system engineer, and I was managing IBM's in-house infrastructure, also doing trainings and managing some of their government customers like income tax, customs, excise. From that time, I ended up doing a kind of a training for a company called Pakistan Burma Shell, which converted to Shell Pakistan Limited. So there was an ERP course which they wanted to host. They didn't have the space. I offered them to do it in IBM. So they did, and it was a week-long course. And after the course, the expat IT head, he just gave me the offer that would like to work for us. So initially, I thought he was joking, but I think he was serious. So I picked up his offer and joined them in 1996 as the data management and MIS manager. So basically, and at that time they were doing a lot of IT transformation, deploying ERP. So basically, I'll just give an example at how legacy it was that the depot data was coming on floppy disks, and those disks are actually loaded into a computer. From the computer used to go to the mainframe.
Yeah.
So I actually seen that time when we had these.
That's unbelievable. It was, yeah, we've only probably the millennials have only heard about those. And I believe they were very, very small in terms of their data storage.
That's
I think
correct.
a couple of
It was all the standalone applications across all depots, and all the sales and volumes and everything used to come via courier, and then uploaded into a computer, and then so that's how it started. It all started with they putting up financials. So they used JD Edwards, which was now they called PeopleSoft. Started with financials, so GL, AR, AP, fixed assets, and then we did purchase order processing, and so in 1999, when their ERP landscape grew, they said that we have an opening of an IT operations manager, and at that time they were doing sales and distribution. So they were actually putting up the JD Edwards modules for sales, so replacing the old floppy system kind of a thing. I was part, so they had like 30 depots and 5 airfields across Pakistan, and that project actually ran for 2 years. I was part of the technical team who was actually looking at the application side and also infrastructure. And so there were exciting times when we did a lot of things like putting up DRP systems and BCP and all sorts of things. Interesting
You're
times.
definitely one of the pioneers in the field, definitely. So you must have seen a very, very big transition from the time then and the time now. What exactly is the nature of your work at Yunus Textile Mills? Because a lot of times, when we talk about GMIT, we often the common man thinks about, okay, maybe an IT head is needed where there's a retail business, or something like FMCGs or MNCs. So what
True,
exactly
true.
are the services that are offered, and what exactly does your role entail?
You mean the current role?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm currently, so as you know, that currently Pakistan has an explosion right now in the textile industry. Due
Right.
to COVID and other situations, India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, they are not taking any orders in the textile world.
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening? A bulk of this load is actually shifted to Pakistan. So we are a home textile unit. It's part of the Lucky group of companies, and currently we are producing 13 million meters of clothes a month.
Wow.
And it's an import house, and so basically our biggest customer.
Right. Right. Mr. Sadiqain, I think you'll have to sign in again. I lost you for a bit there. Ladies and gentlemen, just like Mr. Sadiqain Khoja was talking about textiles these days, it is very important for us to know that at every point in life, an opportunity arises. And these days, there's great opportunity for the textile industry. Unfortunately, with COVID, we have seen new markets emerge. And just like Mr. Khoja pointed out, that because of the unfortunate situation in India and Vietnam, this is the perfect time for Pakistan to be really building upon their textile market. Right. Mr. Khoja, I think you're back. You've joined us again.
Okay.
So what would you accredit your biggest success to, and what exactly was your biggest accomplishment?
So I think in terms of success, I got the opportunity to work in Iraq for Shell from 2010 to 2017. The challenge was to deploy, reignite a supergiant oil field and set up the
Oh, wow.
IT footprints in that. So that oil field is called Majnoon oil field. It's actually a supergiant oil field, around 38 billion barrels of reserves near the Iranian
Wow.
border. And
Hmm.
Shell actually took up this assignment and reestablished the whole facility. So I was one of the first people, and luckily one of the few Pakistanis who was actually selected for this. And we actually set up contracts, services with our EPC, what you call as an engineering contractor, to set up the oil field, fiber, all sorts of infrastructure, applications like SAP, collaborative rooms, process control domains, all sorts of those specialized services in the field, and took us like 4 years to have the field fully operational. And when I left, it was producing 250,000 barrels a day. So that I feel is the biggest achievement, working with more than 60 nationalities. At the same time, I was asked to train a lot of Iraqis. So I ended up like training around 15 to 20 engineers, IT engineers over there. It was, I feel, one of the most rewarding experience I had in my career, because it was very challenging, very difficult place, temperatures of uh, close to 60 degrees and -2 in winters.
Wow.
So yeah, and actually, and
60
the place we were
degrees.
operating was actually a battlefield where Iran-Iraq had wars. So we used to get dead bodies every day in the
Oh,
excavation, and
no.
it was heavily mined. So we used to hear, some nearby villages, someone losing a leg or losing a life. So very, very difficult place, but thoroughly enjoyed working those 6, 7 years in the
So
field.
right. So when we were, coming back to when we lost you in the connection,
Yeah.
it's interesting to know that one expects, like, a lot of IT and digitization in terms of, let's say, mining sector, oil and gas, and so on and so forth. So, like, coming back to textiles, what
True.
is what are the latest trends, and what are we doing differently? Has process automation been reality? What are we doing in terms of uh, your department at the
So,
textile mill?
so in terms of textile, I believe this industry needs a lot of attention right now, mainly to the fact because most of the machinery which is being placed is all PLC based. So all you can link to the computers.
Right.
Unfortunately, it has happened because of the lack of expertise and the lack of talent and the way uh, a, a lot of IT components is missed out. So they actually buy and end up buying a lot of expensive machinery, but they do not buy the software, which actually gives you a very information on data and dashboards and all sorts of things. So I think this is general gap across textile. And another thing which textile is now doing is they're actually looking at industry 4 solutions, basically IoT, machine learning, all sorts of things. And that the kind of value which you get is enormous. And the predictive analysis kind of things and all that. So I'm actually looking at into all these possibilities by cleaning up the legacy, understanding what the business requirement is. So currently we are looking at different ERP solutions like Oracle EBS, SAP, and Datatex. At the
Right.
same time, maintaining a legacy solution. So I see textile industry being a lot of focus.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more because when you travel abroad and when you see how automated their processes are, it just brings more and more efficiency to the
True,
business, and it also streamlines a lot of processes. Um,
exactly.
However, one interesting point to note here is that when you talk about the textile industry in particular and the boom that's coming in, since the output is worth billions of rupees, right?
True.
A lot of times, and that means a lot of cash flows and a lot of back like for example, a lot of raw material that's invested into and a lot of
That's right.
output and capital. So this generates a lot of data, even when you're talking about in terms of the markets that you're exporting to and everything. What exactly do you feel as an IT professional and as a domain expert is the importance of data for a business?
So I think data is actually, if you see oil, gold, other things are not. Data is the most important asset, and all these machines, all these textile machinery generates a lot of data, which can be actually interpreted and used in BI tools like Power BI and Tableau, and provide
Right,
very useful information to the management. So because they need data to make decisions, with reference to planning, with reference to manufacturing, with reference to taking future orders, data is actually the key thing. So I think the challenge overall across textile is that the data is being produced, but it's actually not being manipulated in the right way. It's not being
right,
stored professionally. It's not being used for decision making. I think that's the challenge across textile industry. But now the
right.
focus is there. All the key people who are running these textile factories are now actually realizing the reason why they brought me from a non-textile area, because I had worked on a lot of these technology, and I see that a lot of other textile industries are bringing over people from different industries just so that they can develop these systems across their factories.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. And you've just hit the nail on the coffin when you said that a lot of data now has become relevant because I was reading the survey by Martin Dow and a couple of years ago. They said that uh, data is going to be the new oil and gold,
Correct.
right? So that's
That
the
is so
value,
true. That is
and
very true.
we haven't tapped into it. We haven't tapped into it yet. However, when we're talking about data, one of the interesting things that you mentioned was the fact that storage. So post pandemic, uh, a lot of work culture has changed, right? So everyone is doing, either work from home or they're incorporating different, they were becoming, transforming the company digitally and going on the cloud, not even like physical systems and hard drives and so on and so forth. Uh, what do you think is the potential of cloud computing, especially in the corporate sector in Pakistan?
So I think it has a lot of, I believe, future is cloud, and a lot of organizations. But unfortunately, I would say uh, the cloud penetration in the textile sector is quite low. People prefer keeping data or their systems on-prem. But now I'll give you an example. So some of the non-critical things can be moved to cloud. So I'll just give you an example. We just started a project and we're putting our HR data on cloud, which is Microsoft Azure. So
Yeah,
that's something which we are doing already. I'm a big advocate of cloud, and uh, but the thing is that in terms of putting up my ERP on cloud, I would think twice. Reason being that all these cloud operators do not have their data centers in Pakistan. So in case of a breakdown of a service and all that, you rely on the backup submarine cable, which is usually not very fast, and I've seen it in my previous experiences. So I would not put all the eggs in one basket. I would just divide them, but definitely cloud is the future. Given the fact we have a good reliability and a very strong SLA, I would not mind putting things on cloud.
Right. Mr. Khoja, you must have made a lot of businessmen very happy today with your opinion because you've been very candid. And let me tell you that a lot of GM IT or heads of IT that I speak with, they often are very, very big advocates of the cloud and putting everything on the cloud. However, most CEOs or business owners in Pakistan who are still working on brick and mortar principles, now their ideology behind not shifting to the cloud is the fact that obviously there's a lot of sensitive data. Fine, putting out
True,
HR files is something different, but accounts, for example, or other sensitive data to the company. Aren't we making it more vulnerable by putting it onto the cloud? Now that this is the opinion that most people carry, because
see,
end
it
to end
all.
is very rarely available.
So I think that all puts on which cloud operator do you select. So I think you need to build very coming from Shell, where we were talking standard you know contracts and standard putting up very strong clauses. So I think it all depends how strong your NDAs and your service levels are with the cloud operator. So I think
Mhm.
in order to put your corporate data on the cloud, you need to ensure that there's a very strong level of secrecy, or we call is privacy, where any outside access to our data is immediately exposed. It's properly secure. The cloud operator has a very strong cybersecurity framework. Um, so you need to make sure that definitely the risks are there, but putting things on operators like Microsoft and Google and Amazon, I think you can achieve that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that opinion, actually. Sir, we know that you have spent a considerable amount of time, in the domain that you're in, and there's a lot you must have experienced as well, in terms of, ups and downs, right? Both. So, how have you dealt with the difficult situations that have come into your life?
So I think that's a very good question. Difficult situations. So situations do come with solutions. I always believe, and I'm a very optimist person. I always look for a solution. I'm a problem solver. So whenever there is a situation, you need to actually start analyzing, break down the issues into several components, and then start to analyze each of the components and look for opportunities, look for the solutions out. And I always believed in seeking outside help. You can talk to your family, you can talk to your peers, you can talk to your team, and sometimes you end up finding a solution. So I always believed in sharing, collaborating, and sometimes people come up with good. But always, what I always feel that if you're getting a very strong intuition from inside, I think that's where you should go for. So I think problem always comes with this possible solution. You just need to keep an eye open and get the right one.
Absolutely, like I said, and then once again, even to this question, you've given a very different outlook and a very different sort of opinion because generally, someone that belongs to IT is very left brain, and we're all talking about okay, fine, so this is the problem, and here we're logically going to come up with a solution. But a lot of successful businessmen from like the Fortune 500 companies have often said that when we're trying to solve problems or even making big business decisions, then we often rely on our intuition. And that's exactly what you said. So I believe it's a good combination. And the second thing that you did point out was, like I said, taking opinions and sharing with people. And we at CxO Global have definitely seen it happen in reality. I mean, you're a witness to it. Whenever someone posts a little query
True.
with the other members, it's instantly solved. Um, so, unfortunately, we're coming towards the end of today's session, and it's been a learning experience. We encourage you to keep talking to us and keep sharing knowledge with the rest of our audience. Upon an ending note, I would like to ask you on what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
So I think I got inspired by one of my bosses, who was actually a Nigerian, and he always told me, sometimes when working in Iraq, and used to never give up. That I always believe. There are always possibilities, and there are always problems are there, and is to just be persistent and always keep trying till the end. Because if you give up, the battle is lost.
Right, absolutely. And so, just a one liner about CXO Global.
I think it's an excellent forum. I would say that I'm feeling sorry that I joined a bit late, but it's good to network with so many good people. I know a lot of people in the industry. So I think it has been an amazing experience. The knowledge sharing and the kind of material shared is really good. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I would like to continue being part of this journey.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Khoja, for your time, and we hope to hear from you again. Thank you very much,
Okay,
ladies and
thank you so much.
gentlemen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. That would be all for today. Please keep us updated with your comments and feedback if you want to learn more about the kind of work that Mr. Ghulam Sadiqain Khoja is doing. We've shared his LinkedIn profile in the link, and you can log on to www.cxoforum.global. Up until next time, you take care of yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you.